My name is Jim Ryan, and I'm the new Instructional Designer here at EWU. My job here is to take a look at the programs, courses, and people from a different point of view, to see how all these Lego pieces fit, and to imagine how I can help put them together differently to make something new and amazing. Welcome to the Play to Learn podcast.
So this one...
So we're not doing Ask Micro interviews?
We might be. I think that's what we left that in there,
Yeah, I
to
think-
see if it's the right.
We had like some guest speakers that were
Yeah.
coming in on that week, and so that's kind of where that was coming in. And then I think, again, this is another one we have to fill in where you go to the major's homepage, and within that major's homepage, there's a whole bunch of careers that are listed out based on that. And then,
On every single major's homepage?
yeah,
Oh, that's nice.
it's really convenient.
Is that new? I don't think so. I probably haven't done as much exploring of the major homepages as I...
And we're trying to get them to understand the resources here. And sometimes it sounds like boring, is what I've often told students, but there's so much great information that you'll be like, I never thought about a career in this. And I loved one of our faculty in Santa Cruz always would say, major, not equal sign to career. And
Yes.
so in some cases, right, dental, medical, things like that, of course, it's much more correlated. But the Explore degrees is a really cool one. Kind of go there. And I don't like it. Like, this is Program Explorer. You see different words with Degree Explorer, Programmed Explorer. But you're going to get with the values and the interest surveys, some of that you might be a creator, a doer, or some of these. So, and I've got to learn better how it is you actually manage these. But just go into anthropology. That was one that I picked randomly.
Where
And I don't even know if it's on. So maybe go
I don't know.
go at any one, biology.
Oh,
maybe.
no, doesn't have
Go biotech. Grab that one maybe. That's a minor.
biotech.
Yes.
Sure.
So go there, and then I think you go degree homepage. But I love this. It gives you a bit of an overview. And then if you scroll down, and this is, but I love all of these where graduates work, or isn't applied learning. And it's awesome that it's very, okay, awesome. See, this is a good question. Applied learning, what you'll learn.
As those type curriculum course. So where are they? Go career? No, that's career connections. Request info.
Look at the biotech or environmental science, because this is good to know. This is why we do this.
I
see
think that
what
one of
the
the issues is that
well, hands on. Go to biotech though, or no, environmental science, and see what they.
there's some variability in how each major...
It looked like it was like a template. The several that I looked at,
Question.
because again, you see how consistent, but they must have options.
Yeah, well, I thought there was some program learning that not passed.
Yeah. So go to anthropology if you can find that.
Hey, I'll just do.
be nice to say, hey, all the departments, could you please update? Yes. Just because...
Yeah. See, again, it looks real simpler as you go through each one and keep what you just get down to that creates.
Careers.
Oops, did I miss it?
Up there.
Oh, okay, there we go.
That's not what I saw. So this is interesting.
It changed, didn't it?
Let me go. But this is exactly why.
I thought there was like a list of stuff.
Oh, there was all kinds of it. So I happened to do Bachelor of Arts I clicked on a Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology, Applied Learning, Sample Courses, Career Possibilities. Like, it was such a great.
Is that a different...
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So I went here under degree options, and then the BA minor, and then
But if they don't have it
Yeah.
for all the majors.
this should be on the major. Because
Yeah.
cultural anthropology, like look at all that.
Well, this
That's
was just.
great.
So did I just get lucky with? I checked a couple of them.
Because if we go back to, so here's anthropology. What were we looking at before? We were
Yeah, go
looking at
back to that.
biotechnology. Maybe it was under, where did I look under for this? This was under,
It's just on the
Career
page,
possibilities.
but it's just off of their main page.
But that must be from somewhere, right? Like,
It's just their degree page, they called it. Yeah, I don't like that. That's not going to be consistent.
requirements.
Yeah, I gave the example and even this, what can I do with this major? That
Yeah.
link was broken the other day on all the campuses because I went out to many other universities. And so I'm like, this is not good.
Here's one, and biology where it's at, it's work.
but see, that's a very different...
This whole applied learning opportunities, which is great. But
Oh, here's some career track advice.
also that's, yeah.
That's advising suggestions. Oh, yeah, so plant science, pharmacy, pre-care practice. So that's good.
That might be great feedback to my academic affairs council group.
Yeah,
Yes.
but because it should be in biotech, like it should just be here.
It's kind of that degree
Like,
homepage.
yeah, where that would make our
Yeah, because that's
lives
missing. That's
easier.
there, and that really should be there.
And it should be all off of the Program Explorer because
Yeah.
that's really where
Because that's a very cool thing. But if everybody's doing it differently or using
Yeah.
different language,
There's no section in some of these that talks about what career.
So this is kind of cool. So here's a career area. I didn't notice this before because I went right to. So this is kind of interesting. So I'm going to check on all of them. Check. So because again, off of this page, if we're trying to get them here, because through
that's
the
when Program Explorer.
values and through the values and interests, this should get the categories. And then I don't know how this works. Let's talk about organizers, right? So, but theoretically, I think that means like all of these kind of majors are related to if you come up as an organizer. So you want them to kind of play with this. And so maybe this is your thinker, right? You maybe like to read. But if I go into a bachelor's degree in Africana Studies, but this might be good if everyone does show careers. So that's my hopes. And I honestly didn't even notice the career areas here before because I was going right to the degree program page. So I want to check.
And is that to the major page or is that a different? I think that those are different.
This is
pages.
just an initial landing page.
Yeah.
Yes, but it gives some options here. And I like this because this is a whole lot better than the Santa Cruz when they had a lot of. But yeah, so each of these are coded. But now what happens if I'm like, okay, let's look at this. So then that gets you back to creative writing. So I haven't played.
I think it's not
too
quite.
much. And I just lost all of my.
And maybe they're just building that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So that brought me back to. So that was interesting, but it doesn't let me go back.
Because it opened up a new.
Right, because I'm like, I don't want just degree creative writing. Dental hygiene, again, that's going to be more limited. Dental hygiene, education, healthcare.
So like one of the other things, I don't know if anybody's here is familiar with like role playing games. So you are like what kind of which ones?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, her engine now, right? I heard that story.
Yes, I've been trying to get into somebody because I've never played before and I've always wanted to. But
I haven't played for years, but that was my college experience was such and such.
right. So like my analog to that is like World of Warcraft.
Yep.
So when you create a character in World of Warcraft, you have these class paths that you go down.
Yeah.
But at the very end, you can see what the end career will be once you go down that path.
Mhm.
And so if people are trying to hunt through these programs to find that clear map, choose your own adventure to that end career, and it's not clear, then they're like, well, what am I going to be? If I take these courses, what's my end option that I can choose from? Like my character is finally going to be when they reach that end goal. So that trail, that path has to be really clear.
Yeah.
I think it's
here.
not, or it's not consistent.
Right. I think that even may be okay as long as we present it. Like, here's one of many options to explore careers, and how they present it may be a little bit different for each one.
But maybe there are other places that have other websites that have that kind of.
And my goal is that they become very familiar with what we do have and what we
Yes.
do offer.
Yeah.
But that's where this other
Well,
one
this is trying that at the
This is-
beginning.
I think it's a good thought. It's a good idea.
and that's
And it feels like it's not quite.
Yeah, it's trailing off
out?
and getting kind
Or
of
like-
fuzzy at the end.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you major in psychology. You can be a psychologist.
And I
Okay.
think that would be fun to look at even psychology. But here, that's exactly what this in the career services has this as well. And it's the link that was broken. So I put notes in there. What can I do with this major? It's a big national, like UW has
Oh.
on their page.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was
It
thinking.
was broken yesterday. So I didn't go to the career center to say, hey, do you have any updates? Oh, they fixed it. Good. But literally, I went to 3 different campuses yesterday. So that the goal is that you have a couple of different tools. Leverage our local campus tools, but then here's a national.
One of the things I would love for students
Yes.
to take out of this is, oh, I looked, I didn't see my major, I didn't see anything that. One of the things that I see in the students is they're like, okay, I give up.
Yeah.
Well, that's the president's. There's a pebble in the road, and then you throw up your hands.
And I want to show them, okay, you didn't get the answer that you were looking for that was helpful or that spoke to you. How do you then try a different
Way of doing, yeah.
thing? It's something that we all had to learn because we were there at the advent of the internet, where you had to think of like, okay, what other words could what other Boolean search terms could I add to this on Alta Vista to try to figure out where to go? How do I get information? And so I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing
If they're not,
if they run into the problems. I just want them to say like, okay, so you didn't see the particular thing that you were interested in.
And it's
Now let's try this other website.
wild out about this to go down to psychology, because I think that was a perfect example. It's just digging and finding more.
And also, yeah, not being deterred.
Yes.
Psychology
Yep.
program. Okay.
So again, broad there. But yeah,
Education, agreement, services,
now
research.
this one calls it program homepage, which is interesting, right? Some call it degree, but I love, like, it's pretty consistent and different. And they go down further. Why study, what you'll learn, careers,
Forensic psychology, sport.
Yeah.
A good list here. I mean, maybe it could be like if you click on each one of these, it could be a little bit more detailed.
Yeah. But it's kind of cool the way that, again, I think they must have a lot of options. But even here, what can I get with?
Is it worth it? Should be yes. No.
Stop, can I get like a psychology?
Yeah, there you
But
go.
I like the way that they've done this. And again, it's just link it.
This is nice detail right there.
Yeah.
It's good detail,
Exactly.
which should be linkable from.
Up there.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think there's
Having the
different
information.
levels of how they present it. But I think this will be great feedback. And I always like to do the positive, like being able to share, like, these are excellent examples that students, again, related to the course even, that we're trying to help them understand.
Yeah.
But this is, again, a far better. Santa Cruz was not great at helping, again, I think because it's recent.
Oh yeah, a lot of universities are not really doing this at all.
Yeah, but I love, like,
If
psychology.
you don't know what
good
jobs
example.
you can already do, that's not for us to figure out. Like that's
But something like this should be uniform across all the programs so that they just, okay, this is here, that's there, I know where to look.
right.
It's
Your
not.
your homepage should have these components. This is the language that we want
And, like,
you to
this
use.
might be a fun for Kristen to kind of go through all 84 majors and to say,
Oh, yeah, super fun.
super expert type here, but you could say, like, here's the examples of really great. They've got great career information because it takes time going through it. But to say, here's the maybe 52 that are awesome, but these 30, maybe they're not quite as clear with that mindset. So,
Or they use the different,
or
just
student-
even future employment is different than what kinds of jobs can I get. And that might be enough for students to be like, well, is that really the same, which is different from places where our graduates work.
Yeah.
But that would be really helpful.
But I think the key is with the guest speakers also tied in, because Martha, for anybody to hear your background, and I'm sure Janelle's background is different, and other people love Scott Finney, I think, came in and talked a little bit about his background. And even the president, a few of us, I don't know, probably get on her calendar sooner rather than later, but I doubt she kind of went and did her undergrad thinking she wanted to be a college president.
I think it's really helpful for students to hear
Your zigzags and pivots and
it change, and what you thought you wanted to do was, I mean,
and
I got out of college, I was going to go to law school, I was a paralegal in New York City, and then I was like, I don't like these people, and also they're going to make me wear pantyhose, and I don't want to wear pantyhose. I was a paralegal, I was in court. The judge asked me to stand up and said, you are wearing a pantsuit. Not in my court. Go home and change into a skirt and come here dressed appropriately. What year was this? This was in the late 90s, late 90s.
Go back and wear a skirt.
And in New York City courtrooms, you could not be a woman wearing pants in court in front of
your
many
trajectory.
And he said, wear pantyhose and put on a skirt. You are not dressed appropriately, young lady. It was humiliating. And I was like,
Wow, this is not for me.
So I became an executive assistant at a feminist nonprofit.
Oh, I love it. That is so
But that was I was like, I did not know wearing pantyhose was part of the legal career that I wanted.
Would have rolled that out the last.
That was enough to pivot for me to be like, that was it. But
that's one of those things, like we were saying earlier. You come in, you're like, why is this a thing? And like,
why is this a thing? And also young women are like, what year was this? 1942?
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's why.
It's like,
No,
that was the 90s, which for them is still
Not
the same as 1980s.
That was in the last century.
Yeah, that was in the last millennium, Michelle.
that was the 1900s.
That was the 1900s. So I realized this as relevant, but I was like, that was enough for me to be like, I don't
That's so funny.
want to work in an industry where they're making me wear pantyhose.
And to me, that the crazy thing is, like, even think of your job, right? Where they're going to be in the future, we don't even know the jobs.
Yeah.
And again, it's not just AI. I think it's a lot of different elements. But
Everything.
the people that can communicate effectively, critically think, know when to pivot.
But it's really about your habits of mind
Yeah.
rather than what particular skill that you think is going to be correct. I had a financial advisor who was a financial advisor because he had been a vice president at Yellow Pages and he crushed it. And then he lost everything because people stopped using Yellow Pages. You have the internet.
Yep.
And he was like, that's an example of like, I worked hard at this. I did everything right. I learned all these skills to be an executive at the Yellow Pages.
Yellow Pages and Blockbuster.
Yellow Pages at Blockbuster. And he was like, and then we stopped doing Yellow Pages. And that was something I never could have foreseen. I did all the right things, and it's important to keep those things. So
It's going to be
in mind, it's like, but what I learned as an executive was applicable to a different career path.
transferable. Yeah.
And now we don't wear pantyhose. That's all.
Period.
Yeah. I can't remember the last time.
Like I had to wear pantyhose and a skirt and
God, to think back to those days.
right? I'm sure you have those where you're in
My
do work and like the idea of having bare legs or wearing open-toed shoes. A lady would not wear open-toed shoes. Like just wouldn't do it. You wouldn't-
1900s.
I wouldn't have gone to work in flats. Like that was
Crazy.
not cool. You'd have to change into I had all my heels under my desk, like to change into, because I know that's
Wow.
Yeah, I don't understand it all. So that's week 5. Then I guess we're really continuing on this career thing in your future
Yep, that's
career
the
there.
final of the 6th week.
Yeah, and then chapter 8 is for week 6, and that's on communication.
I'm thinking they're going to do short presentations to the class about
Yes,
their
that's-
careers and how their values.
that we talked about in that meeting, right? About like, which I think is great.
And then
This week
okay.
it's you and your well-being.
Join the EDU Career
Network.
and you and your future career.
I think it's you and your future.
Yeah,
but it's okay.
Yeah, and then that was from back here somewhere. Yep.
So we have to look at when we assign them versus when they're due. So
Yeah.
trying to think of what that looks like.
Yeah. So then now we're up to your part.
You and your well-being.
Yes.
So I'm sort of thinking about, right, because there's obviously a jump.
Mm-hmm. And you were saying chapter 11 would be for this week?
And that's what I'm wondering. Yes. If we're keeping the similar cadence as we go through. But again, I think it ends up wrapping up with the final exam. And again, we're going to go all the way out, not through the first year, but just through the degree completion.
Yeah.
And I think the key is that they see how these things are all linked, that you have to keep that focus on your health and wellness or you're not going to get to your major.
Well, yeah, I'm
You-
thining about like the bridge, right? Because I kind of make
that
those
bridge effect.
like that bridge about like, okay, so we've been talking about a couple parts of who you are. We've been talking about your academics. We've been talking about your career, like having them review like
your
your
interests.
values and your interests, and that's part of who you are. What are the other parts?
Yeah. Yes.
If you were going to describe yourself, like what you care about, who you are, how you spend your time, right? Like those are the things, that's the sort of the narrative is. And I always, like in a lot of the trainings I used to do on wellness and well-being is like, how do you spend your time? What do you do in a day?
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're doing these things. Okay, but then you're gaming, you're hanging out with your friends, you're like eating, you're playing sports. So having them think about, okay, so that's one component of who you are. What are the other components? So getting them to think about like you're all focused, you're all like thinking about those things. But that's not all of who you are. That's not when you think about your life in the future.
And this is where you might have part of the wheel already complete, like your intellectual and
Like, but just getting them to think, like, okay,
love it.
20 years, you've been thinking about your career. I can't remember my career and me, or me and my career. What are the other parts of that story? What do you dream of? You want a family? Do you want to be a parent? Do you want to travel? Right? So you're getting them to think about like more broadly, like, so what is wellness? Now look at here are the different parts of an identity or a life. These things make up a life. So how do you spend your time? This is another way to your question about assessing. If you ask people to like, tell me how you spend your time in a week. And they're like, well, I work 12 hours a day and then I watch TV and I eat and then I go to sleep. And you say, okay, so 90% of your time is spent working. Now here's the wellness wheel. So just based on what you're doing, when would you attend to these things,
Mhm.
right? So that's another way to
Yeah.
get concretize what is wellness, or what are the other parts.
Yeah. And I think if we even designed it, what is it called? Backward design. If we think about what their signature assignment is that
Yeah.
week, when we all met, we basically said wellness. We didn't define what that signature assignment would be. But I think that that's where, if we think about what would that signature assignment look like, and again, ideally kind of presenting to class based on your assessment. And maybe there's a mini assignment. We think about how do you spend your time? That might be a really cool mini assessment by our mini assignments, but thinking about what would that signature assignment be that week that's worth
Well,
it.
I've been trying to think about that, like what part of it, and part of me was like, what if they had to choose a dimension and they had to create a presentation for their classmates, educating them about how to take care of.
And I love it. So then you have everybody presenting on a slightly different. That's a beautiful.
So like, but I was like, is that too simple? But
I think
if you had to, or an aspect of
yes,
wellness,
I love it.
another thing that they could do is sort of like more going back to my example of the Odyssey example, that my students, like I did it for years with students, and I've done pieces of that, essentially like write your own wellness wheel, write the story of your own wellness. So that could be like how it's changed over time, what you want for yourself in thinking about your future career, dreaming, like what are the other parts of your life? How does that relate to your wellness? I'm not really sure, like,
Yeah.
what you
Well, and I
think.
like that idea. I kind of go back and forth because some of them I might, and again, I love the options so that we're not telling everybody to do. I want to give them agency. And so in some aspects, they might be able to focus on one or two areas, but others may be like, no, I want to really think about holistically what this means and the impacts of this perhaps on me achieving my long-term goals.
Right.
Or maybe it just focuses on their degree completion because that's the final is we're getting to that degree completion. So now that you've identified your major, what
Maybe it's like through college.
yes.
How do you attend to these? So you've done an assessment of like where you fall,
Yeah.
and like, oh, I'm really concentrating on this, but not that. Like, what is a plan
in this
for how you can, and what happens when one of those dimensions gets prepared? What if they had to prepare a disaster plan?
Yeah.
Like in better terms, but like you break your leg, you can't.
I think it prepares them for not if, but when something goes
Right.
sideways. I like this. I like this.
So we also get at that failing
Yes.
and resilience
Yes.
piece. And we could combine them, like do a presentation educating your classmates about digital wellness, including in that essentially what happens when things go wrong.
Yes. Did you get that? What happens? Oh, you look at that. You're so
Yeah.
Yes. Not if, but when.
Yes.
I love that. But again, it's not just the disaster plan. It's still focusing on that one item. I heard the and.
And what happens when it goes wrong, and how do you get back on track? So it's not just like what's the there's disaster, everything's terrible, and now you can't
Educate
exercise.
your classmates on one particular aspect of the wellness wheel that you think is your strength area.
Yes, I like that.
Yes. And
'Cause I want it to be
from
really
ethics.
strengths
Yes.
based, about like what's the area that you think that you're doing the best?
Yes.
Or we could do the area that you think you're strongest in and the area that you struggle with.
Yes. I like both ends of it. I like that.
So that it's not just like, well, I'm a student athlete, so my physical well-being is really great. But like, okay, to me, it's always about keeping those things in balance. Like if you focus on this, then this has to give, right?
Yes. And then you could have that. And I like that with the area and the area that you struggle with. And then the other piece is in the area that you have your strength in, because sometimes you don't think that that's where things are going to go sideways, right? But of your strength, create a plan for when things go wrong.
Yeah.
But I like the area of strength doing that because that's the one where people think,
Right. They have already a lot of confidence about like, okay, or they have more confidence.
Yeah.
But it's also, that means that they rely on.
Yeah. What if everything is going fine, but they are still struggling on other parts? How they utilize their time to shore up their skill sets
Yeah.
in the parts where they're struggling.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think about like I think they need some basic education about why wellness and well-being matters.
And that's
Before
why
they
it's going to
get
be in the first part.
this.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
we work it backwards.
Yeah, so I'm trying
backwards
to like
design.
okay, so what would they need to know in order to be able to
Yeah.
do that?
I think we're getting both ends of the spectrum, and then we're going to be filling it in.
Mm-hmm. And these might not necessarily be options. This is just the notes.
Yeah, the notes
somebody
to,
I use
to
that,
figure out.
Okay.
But I like the thing that I like about the presentation is that they have to teach it, and if you can teach it, then you have a better understanding, and then they also get practice using. I mean, I know they've done some of that in high school by using slides and like,
Yeah.
what's a presentation? They should have to do a presentation that doesn't use slides.
That's what I want. Seriously. And to me, it's not a presentation. And again, I think there's such a difference in
Like you can have three slides.
with people on it. Yeah. And maybe they don't have any. I still kind of like that idea that we're going back to the basics. We're going to be handwriting and it's more conversation with your classmates.
Yeah.
So share with us. I can go back to sharing time. Did we do that in kindergarten? But it's kind of that
It
basic
could be like
idea.
you have a skit
Yeah.
that you write. That's a presentation.
Yeah.
Or you have like an experiment that
Yeah.
people like you have them run around outside and
Or not, you have
like
your classroom in a circle and you might not even have to stand up in front of the class, but it's a
Yeah.
conversations. Please share, and it might be shared.
demonstrate.
Yeah, demonstrate or share with your class, what your 2 areas are. And again, do we want to focus on that plan to create when things go wrong? Or you were thinking maybe it needs to be more holistically of how you try to balance out if that's really the ultimate goal is, so, okay, now you've shared 2 ends of the spectrum. What are your options for kind of bringing this into an optimal balance level or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then maybe again, bringing things into optimal balance.
Well, when things are going fine or just
Out of
gen-
balance
yeah.
when you really see that, like, again, hopefully they'll be like, oh my God, like these 3 areas, even I'm doing really well, but how can you bring things into
Alignment with your goals.
exactly?
Or
I do want to keep coming back to the why call, like, why are you here? And again, it doesn't mean that's their major yet, but really their goal, they're here so that they finish their degree to have a better life or whatever the answers might be is just, and so I like that coming back to your goals.
but also like, okay, so maybe there could be a component that they have to also think about, which is you've identified that you want to do X. What dimensions are particularly supportive of that goal? Like if you want to be a physician, no, if you want to be a forester, a firefighter, what parts of your wellness are going to support that?
Yes.
Right? So yes, obviously the physical, but the mental, and you might have to do some research about like, well, firefighters have to also be really attentive to their mental health and their well-being, but they also have to like know a lot about how fire works and they have to be always learning new methods, so you have the intellectual and the occupational,
Mm-hmm.
but they also, what do you love about the being in the forest? Or, I mean, I think that there's some aspects. So reconnecting it also to not only how do you manage your wellness in college, but for your career.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's huge. Yes, I think that's exactly, and then that goes right back to the last section that we had on careers is how important is your wellness towards your career goals?
Yeah.
Like just really thinking through that. What actions do you take throughout the wellness wheel? And I don't know what we call it, aspects of the wellness wheel and dimensions. Throughout the wellness week, dimensions, you can't read that, to achieve your goals, your career goals.
The other thing that I've been struggling with and thinking about well-being and wellness is getting in the weeds about some aspects that I think are really important for college students.
Yes.
About like relationships, setting boundaries,
Well, and that's exactly
your own
to get
healthy
leading up to
behavior.
that.
And that's the part that like I like this as a signature assignment. I don't want to derail us from
But this
that.
this is due later. The next was week. This isn't supposed to be week 9, is it? No, this is due week 9. So week 8 will be really focused on that stuff, I think.
Yeah, and it may not be just financial, but we're thinking because I do.
Oh, that's just
relationships-
what's next in order. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that's
Week 9, I know we have a spot there. You and your well-being. That should be relationships, boundaries, mental health. Just because these are the things they are really
Yep, this is
struggling with. So
relationships. What was it?
management.
The conflict, relationships,
And we got mental health too.
boundaries,
Mental health.
mental health. That's a lot to throw in there. Maybe there's a better title, but essentially,
It
like,
takes us partway there.
here are the things that our college students are struggling with. Consent. There's a lot of sexual assault and rape happening on this campus.
Yikes.
I could tell they need a lot of training negotiating consent. What is consent? When can you give it? When can you not give it? There's a lot of chlamydia on this campus. Not wearing condoms. Really, really serious. But
Mark's gonna love this section.
so they know they're supposed to be using condoms. How do you negotiate and have that conversation with a prospective partner? Those are the skills that they're lacking. Is not. They know that they're supposed to be doing that. They know they all have chlamydia. Not all.
How does everybody get chlamydia?
But then here's the other problem: is not enough of them are having sex. That's the other, right? Because they're so socially awkward, and they're struggling. These are and it's funny, right? Especially if you grew up in the 80s or 90s, where we were told if you have sex, you'll die. That was enough to get people to use condoms. Right, but we can't say that. They don't buy that anymore.
Go back to the last century.
That's true. That's how
Our
sex education.
We used to go back to those 80s and 90s commercials.
You're gonna die.
Remember, this is your brain.
And if you do drugs, you're gonna die. Remember the angel, the angel dust after school special?
We couldn't have sex.
Right? We had so many pantyhose, but yeah, do you know that marijuana is a gateway drug, and then you'll do angel dust, and then you'll be hooked on cocaine, and then you'll die, and your brain will die. And if everything was and they're not, they know that that's bullshit. We're a little smarter. We didn't. But we saw, I saw that. I'm probably the only kid for whom the DARE
Thing stuck.
That is
DARE. I was there.
DARE is the biggest public health failure. It is all in public health classes. It is held up as a huge failure
because it taught everybody how to do it.
I saw that and I was like, got it. Drugs, death, never gonna do it. Terrible. My siblings were like, so how do we do drugs and where do we get them?
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Know that deal on the style of road with the shoes that are
cocaine. It makes you feel really good, right?
Where do I?
Okay. I'm gonna.
Science were taking notes. They were,
and I was like, "Don't do drugs. It's really, really bad." So we know that doesn't work. But what we can't they know that they're supposed to be doing these things.
Yeah.
What they need help with is
what's the healthy way of doing
what
it?
is
the correct way of
essentially how do you do drugs and not die?
Or
how do you
what is I don't know about safety, but what to avoid and why it's important to avoid.
Right. And
not just that you die.
I don't know. That's pretty crystal clear.
It's like
it was crystal clear to me, but again, I was taking notes. Die. Don't write that. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to dedicate my life to this. And everybody around me was like, but what happens before you die?
Well, wait, that sounds kind of fun. That I love still, and I know you're tired of me hearing this probably, but I think it fits into here. If we can get everybody to have the Mentimeter account, I don't know how to do that across all the courses, but
we have access to one of those. It's very
okay.
Yeah, it's very easy. Here's a thing about Mentimeter, and so I used it with Healthy Boundaries to talk about relationships, red flags, green flags. Mm-hmm. So we had scenarios, and then the kids could be like, "That's a red flag. But why is it a red flag?" And then they could write in. You have to be careful with kids writing in whatever
what's disclosed
want.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we don't do the write-ins
because some of the write-ins are not appropriate. Well, yeah. I've had that experience with the Mentimeter where they're
a list. Maybe they have a list, A, B, C, D, E, that they can.
You have to keep some constraints on it. But what we had them do before that group was
really prepared them, and yeah,
she's phenomenal. And those camp kids were they were on it. We've had other examples where that was not the case.
Okay,
and where they run amok. We'll leave it at that.
Okay,
you can imagine the way that a bunch of
young
people might run amok with just access to that's going to be up on the screen. Great. But being able to, so here's a scenario. It was a scenario from them. They were asked provide scenarios, things that have happened in relationships with your parents, friends, not just romantic relationships. And then the kids could vote like, that's a green flag. Now turn to your partner and tell them why you think that's a green flag for a relationship. And then we would discuss it. And that was really helpful.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I love with the relationships, like I just did my Title IX training again, and I love the video on tea.
the
Like,
T video is really,
and that I really, really,
I
because
think
when
that's
you
a
talk about
really, it's
that,
very simple.
yes. And I love that's a little stick figure, and it's like I was like, I
It's
love
a
that.
very, very good video. I think maybe this week is health promotion. We could just say health promotion because there's this it's all tied together, like anti-hazing. Like there's some aspects of education that we're legally requiring to provide to students, but it's essentially, I think here, one of the important parts of talking about relationships, boundaries, those kinds of things is let's go back to your values.
Yeah.
And who you
Oh,
are,
yeah. Oh, I think that's huge.
right? So if you're somebody who values truth, are you telling the truth to your partner about the fact that you're about to give them chlamydia? If you value honest communication, are you communicating what you really need?
Could you go to the doctor?
Could you go to the doctor? Could you please wear a condom? Like, and then giving them practice, I think is really important. So if we could do like a role play of practicing saying no.
Okay. Thought
We
this is gonna be another one of those sex ed
No,
bananas.
we do that with these. So we do education with the athletes. They have like their own first year.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do is about consent. First of all, it's really interesting to hear. We start off like, what are methods of birth control? And the kids are like, IEDs. And we're like, no.
I you this.
And they come out, you hear all sorts of things like one kid last year was like, well, it takes 6 sperm to get somebody pregnant.
What?
And we're like, that's so specific and yet so wrong.
Yeah. So where did you get this from?
So they have all sorts of ideas about like, how do you think this works? And then we had them do they were called Woodies. And they're just like, they were in groups. They had to nominate somebody to come up. How quickly can you put on a condom correctly? And then whoever won got a prize. And of course they're like, but then you're demonstrating this is how you put on a condom. So why do we put on condoms? What are the reasons that we use condoms, kids? And what do you say? Well, the other thing we talked about is consent. If somebody is drunk, can they consent?
No.
No. But then they're like, what if both people are drunk?
You're in big trouble.
Like, what if they're drunk, but I don't want to? How do you negotiate consent? But they need practice.
Yes. Of what
Like, and you can use the T as an example.
Yes.
Michelle, take this pen. You're going to use, I want you to use this pen. You have to use that pen, do it. Michelle doesn't want orange. She doesn't like orange. And she says, I don't want to use orange. Well, orange is what we're using, and that's the pen you have, so use the pen. Right?
But what you break it down, like I would never do that.
Like, why would you never, you drink that
Tea, damn it. Now pour it down your throat.
But how do you, as the person, say, no, thank you, I don't want tea.
And it was okay to have tea last week, but I don't want tea.
I don't want tea today. So you take
but I love the tea.
But the practice of that, I think, is important.
Head down to Supa soon. I'm going to walk
Oh,
to eat the tea for lunch. I think.
Do you think that we made enough progress, or was
I think we started, but we may need to come back together again.
Yeah, I think probably a couple times, but like I think this is great because it got you an idea of where we're at, and I love how you're able to tie the threads.
We need the bridges.
I think the bridges are
Callbacks, based essentially.
To why are we switching to well-being, and what does that have to?
Yeah. What does that have to do with it? Yes.
Yeah, this gets us. We're like inches away. I think once we get some of these things defined a bit better, is like the assignments and the exact wording and what we're expecting from those assignments, and then fill these out a little bit more. There's not a whole lot left.
I think
No, the financial wellness, I've got good ideas about that. You have access to
that. I do think that, so week 8, that makes sense to do the financial there. Yeah. And it's right. I know October 1 is when the FAFSA opens. People don't we don't need to wellness cover in October 1. I should say very few people, especially continuing students, are doing that. A lot of new students do it early in the fall. But I think being
FAFSA
aware of
is
those.
one part of it, but
Exactly, but it's so much bigger
then
than that.
do they know about Tom? We have access to something called Cash Course,
Yes.
which is paid for and is complete financial education. So
What's it called?
Cash Course, and the instructors can choose modules out of that course for students to complete.
I think
Oh
that's
man, that's what we
perfect.
need.
Right.
That's what we need.
So I talked to Tom about this, and he was like, I don't need to come in and talk to all of the class. He said, I will, but Cash Course, you can, an instructor can be like, I want you to do the budgeting
Neat.
and the student loan
Thank you.
things.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And we can just have
That's
them
what we
do
did
that.
with the career services survey. So this is really fitting in nicely.
Yeah, it's beautiful. If we already had a resource back, I didn't know about it.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to let you know. I know we have to stop now.
Yeah.
Cash Course. That's a different,
Yeah.
that's when has anybody read Pema Chodron's When Things Fall Apart?
No, sorry.
It's my favorite, one of my favorite books. She's a Buddhist nun, but it's
very
like
cool.
what happens when everything goes to shit.
Oh, I love that.
It's a beautiful
It's kind
book.
of our wellness thing. I like
And,
that. What
and her thing is like, it's already shit. Of course it's going to go to shit. It's always going to go to shit.
I love it.
And that's okay.
Yes.
So don't be scared of that. That is part of life. But I always think about when things fall apart, like they always do. So yes, Cash Course.
Okay.
And Tom can help us figure out how to get, we just log in with the SSO.
That's what we wrote.
And it's on our webpage in this financial
Right here.
wellness. So he said, of course, I can come in and talk to all of the classes, but if it's all in the same week, that might be difficult.
Yeah.
Cash Course, they can decide what modules they think is really important. But I want them to know about the financial wellness coach, Cash Course, student access.
Yep.
Register for Cash Course. And then I'm not quite sure how it,
And I'm doing that here. Yeah. I'm
Yes.
just doing my email.
like we
I'll see. Ask
we
your
pay
email.
for it. We've got
Well, and that's the focus too.
access
And I know
to
a lot of people had great ideas to go do other Clifton, but I'm like, let's focus on what's available and rely on our experts.
this was easy. They can do the whole
Awesome.
course. I know. They can do the whole course themselves.
I think this is great. And was this used in, I don't know if this was in the curriculum last year. I don't remember hearing it.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, because we didn't have a financial wellness coordinator.
Yep.
We didn't have a Tom who is phenomenal.
I
at
think that was
everything.
great. So I think we have some great anchor pieces.
But if there are technical issues with that, Jim, about like getting it in or like Tom can help us troubleshoot that.
I think it's good for us to keep going through these things to make sure that it's, but I love it. This is that really key anchor piece. And it's very similar to, again, that focus to surveys. I love it. So then we have a little bit of this, we have the wellness wheel, and then we have that course. And then maybe, and at least the T video, I do think we should use that. And again, I think that helps any instructor, whether you're econ or whomever. Yeah. So I think we've got
The T video, we've got Mentimeter about red flags, and
I love that.
and we could do that for a variety of topics.
How does that work for the Mentimeter across all the different classes?
The Mentimeter, it's just a service. You can put in whatever prompts. It'll walk you through like
So we could use, so you would create it in your Mentimeter account that would be used by all 20 classes. Is that how it works?
I think everybody has access to, I'm not sure if it's Mentimeter or a different, essentially Pull Everywhere or something like that. But you can essentially ask any of these questions if you want to do an interactive. They use their phones to log in with the QR code and just enter in their answer.
But I think having that same framework for all this so that people aren't out creating their own. Like
I'm not sure how to do it so that if it's like my account, how to deploy it in instances across.
Because I think about even how they're doing an orientation, they have it and they're going to use it all 6 different programs. So they'll have that up there and then use it 6 different times. But it's very dynamic for the first time and showing everybody as they're
But that's like one user with different sessions.
Right. And that's what I'm wondering.
If multiple users can use one session,
Right.
I'm not sure about that. It might just be like, okay, Michelle, you log in and you do your own Mentimeter and
you give me that template so that
and I say, here what you add in, here are the instructions.
I need to be on
Yeah.
figure out. Sorry. I don't know. This is
Look,
great.
thank you both for allowing me to do double duty here. And
We'll see you next time.
Just so the viewers or the listeners in this case know, how about we introduce ourselves? First of all, I'm Jim Ryan.
You're going to edit this, right?
No, not at all.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jernigan.
Do we want to release our? I'm just kidding.
You want to have pseudonyms? We can do that.
I would love that. No, we can be real.
All right. And
Michelle Whittingham.
okay. And we're talking about bats. No, we're talking about what this course we're going to do.
Right.
The first year.
First we are. Who are you, Michelle? I am the interim associate vice president of student success. And who have you?
And I'm Dr. Martha Staeheli. I'm the director of wellness.
And I'm Jim. And I'm just here to help everybody do what they need to do.
Thank God.
And we just
Jim's
decided
the
to
wrangler.
We just started
Ellen,
recording
the M&M wrangler,
because we were having too good of a time and we didn't want to lose all this great material.
which may or may not actually end up being great material.
We
Jim
might
might get back
actually-
to this and say, none of this is usable.
We might not actually get to the actual course. We're just going to...
We're getting there. We're on basic.
We're going to get there. I have a lot of confidence. So we're going to get there and it's all
We're
good.
going to do it. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to crush it.
So,
Well-being.
Wonder Team activate. And let's... Now, yeah, so I think we were going to go into, you were saying week 7 is what we're moving into. Oh, week 6. So we're in week 6 and we have to talk about this wellness, which you were saying is a state of being.
So the way that we are looking at wellness and well-being at Eastern came about as a result of the inclusion, the well-being initiative in the president's strategic plan. And the way that we're thinking about it is based on the Okanagan Charter model, which is used across the world to establish parameters and structures and thinking and evidence and services for students in universities concerning wellness, health, well-being. So our model of well-being at Eastern is based on those models of the Okanagan Charter and the other universities that are using that.
So Okanagan, like in Washington or Canada?
Canada.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's now been updated with a framework that came out of Limerick this year. But there's an association essentially of universities across the world who have adopted this charter. And it's essentially universities saying, yes, the well-being and the wellness of our students is really crucial to attracting students, retaining students, but beyond that, helping produce and educate students in a way that centers their well-being, but also the well-being of the other members of the campus. So taking a whole campus community approach to well-being and saying, these are essential things that we need to think about for learning to take place and for students to grow and develop so that when we send them out into the world, they have this amazing foundation that is not only oriented around their learning, but around who they are as people and who they are in the world.
And that's beautiful because that fits right in with our first 6 weeks, that it's all about you and your major, the why you're here, and then really scaffolding from you and your major to you and your career.
And one of the reasons I wanted to show you this model is because, and again, I came up with this graphic on the fly, but not as a graphic artist. So the federal government and many other universities have broken these ideas into well-being and wellness. So wellness are the kinds of personal things that we do. We think about wellness in an individual way. So what are we doing to support our wellness in terms of health? Are we exercising? Are we eating right? Are we sleeping? Are we attending to our spiritual wellness?
And are we keeping the bats out of our house?
Are we keeping the bats out of our house? Are we keeping our vaccines up to date? Those kinds of things. That's centered around our wellness, our health. And there are a lot of ways of thinking about that wellness. The SAMHSA, which is a division of Health and Human Services on the federal level, has an 8-dimension wheel that covers like what is wellness. The Okanagan Charter takes that idea and expands it to think about well-being. And well-being is a state that we are always working towards. It's sort of, if you think about it as like the end goal, with all this wellness, with your exercise and your sleeping and your eating right, what are you trying to achieve? You can think about it as balance within yourself. You can think about it from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like all those needs on the bottom are taken care of. It is a state of well-being that means that you are in symbiosis and homeostasis within yourself, but also in the larger community and the world.
The system. Yes.
So in this model, we think about our personal wellness, our individual wellness within a place. So what is the built and sociological system and the environment? So where are we? And this is our Eastern campus, right? This is our community within Cheney and on Eastern, but that also exists in a larger environment of the planet. So all of these things are interconnected. And in order to think about the global environment and the health of the environment, we have to start with ourselves and then move outwards. And so there's sort of a symbiotic relationship and a balance that is taking place within those things to create this feeling of well-being. So within Eastern, again, there are lots of different ways of thinking about wellness and what those dimensions, like what does it mean to be well? And people have this is really highly individualized. It's mediated by your culture, your family history, where you grow up, your context, other things about you. But it contains sort of 8 general dimensions. And in our model, we've added an additional 2 of creative wellness and digital wellness.
Oh,
In addition to sort of the standard occupational. So what are you doing? We can think about this in terms of career, and we often do at Eastern because of the applied learning and polytechnic focus. But really, what are you doing with your time? Social wellness, who are your connections, your spiritual well-being, that could be religion, but it doesn't have to be, your physical well-being, your intellectual or academic well-being, financial well-being, environmental well-being, which can be things like, do you have a safe place to live and be, but also what is your space like? How does it align with who you are? How does it reflect who you are? How does it feel to you? Psychological or emotional well-being. So those are the standard 8 dimensions, and then ours is
the
creative
same
and digital.
size. So would you say, does that imply like to be balanced in terms of your own wellness, that it's equally distributed?
That's a really, really good question. And I would say no. I would say it really, the balance of these pie segments is going to be different
ebb
for
and flow, too.
everybody, and it's going to be different throughout your
Right,
life.
right.
And there might be some time in your life where you're like, if you're raising young children and you don't have a lot of money and
It's going to be
you're focused on things that are very different than when you are a college student or when you are in retirement, right? You have different time and attention. So it's sort of alchemy of what happens in here to get you into balance. But
I wouldn't necessarily say it's alchemy. I mean, I'm sure it is. I'm not saying it's not. Let me come at it from a different point of view, because I was saying I come from things from a gamification point of view, right?
Yeah.
So I would do if I'm playing a video game, and this is like the dashboard of a person's character, right? There would be some kind of numerical value associated with each of these different things. Maybe like it's a 1 to 10 range for each of these different variables in there. And then based on the person's, like you were saying, what part of life they're in, like if they're a young parent or if they're a student or if they're a retiree, the different types of variables will carry different weights relative to the
I
other
think that's a
ones.
perfect way to put it, and a more articulate
I don't know about
way
that.
of putting it, because that's exactly right, is that you can do. And I'm thinking about, okay, how do we assess
like you get
these
no
things?
score is what I'm
Like
wondering.
if you have a score, now you may take a look at that score and say, you know what, I'm willing to sacrifice some of my social wellness because I'm really focused on my occupational wellness right now, or my physical wellness needs to really take priority. What these are designed to do is to be sort of prompts.
Yes, they're really conscientious and
Am I where I want to be?
Right.
Is really the question. And you're absolutely right. You can, but we know that these are all important factors. So if you're like, man,
awareness is huge.
I'm really focused on physical well-being, but I haven't seen my friends. I don't have connection to my family. I don't have much money, I'm not attending to these other things, things are not in balance and you're not moving towards that well-being. You might be really focused. You might have like an exceptional score
Right.
in one of them, and that might be okay for you. It's more about bringing these kinds of things to people's awareness
Yeah,
and
that's huge.
giving them the tools to make conscious choices about where they're at and also spark some ideas in people. It might be like, you think about wellness. If you're my dad, you're like, oh, do you guys just doing yoga and meditation all the time? Is that what your job is? Is that what you're focused on? It's more like this is a way to spark some ideas about creative wellness. Like, I haven't thought about creative wellness before, but I know that if I'm playing music, things feel better. Or if I'm drawing in the mornings, I feel better. If I have some sort of outlet for that, that is really contributing to me feeling better, feeling healthier, more able to meet the challenges and build resilience.
That's my garden. Unless I'm
Yes.
playing with my flowers and have dirt under my nails.
Exactly.
bad.
And people will say like it's just a mental health, like I need to, and that's really what you're saying is like gardening is an important activity for my wellness so that I can do all the other things that I have to do. But the same with digital. I mean, the students that we're working
Love
with
that we added that.
have a lot of digital. That might be screen time. It might be how you use social media. It might be use of AI
Or gaming.
or gaming. But if you're spending 14 hours gaming, you're not having time or energy to attend to gaming is great. It's all about the balance and
Yes.
what are your own personal goals? Like, ooh, and if you get to a certain age, you've had to like kind of rejigger your whole
Yes.
approach to life of like, oh, I really haven't. Yeah, I have not been focusing on getting a walk every day and I don't feel great because I've been focused on this. Okay, it's a constant evaluation and recovery and like, I'm a little out of whack on this. I have been spending too much during the winter. I don't want to walk outside. It's too cold. I want to read and watch TV and do homey things, but that means that I got to get that exercise somewhere else. So it's a tool to bring people's awareness to these kinds of things that if you're having a hard time, take a look at what you're doing to support those things.
I love that intentionality. You had a thought, Jim, before I cut you off with my gaming.
Well, no, I don't know if I necessarily had a thought per se, but I like how you say how it's kind of like it's in a state of constant flux, and putting too much weight on in one area will negatively affect other areas. And the reason I brought up like the idea of a dashboard and everything, if I can, is there some kind of way that students can like enter their own variables into this thing? And
Yes, I would love to do that. I mean, there are lots of sort of, if you look at other universities' websites, and some universities focus on 4, or they focus on 6 or 8.
And I think
Like it's all different, but assessments that you can take to kind of give you an idea of, oh, I mean, I looked at this, Trisha and I developed this, and I was like, okay, I haven't done anything about that.
And by the way, but even though you haven't done graphic design, like this is pretty dope. This is like
Thank you. Well, Trisha and I were looking at some of the icons, and she was like, what's that? And I was like, that's called clip art.
Yep.
From Canva. But Mark is going to help us. And we have now a student graphic designer who's going to help us and make it better. But I would love to, like on our website, even if we, as a scientist, I'm like, oh, how would you calculate the scores? What are the questions based on? Is that evidence based, right? I want it to be all evidence based. But even if we had you could hover over spiritual, what resources are available at Eastern to support your spiritual well-being? Like that's another way to approach it is I'm somebody who I love to fill out a form and get a number and be able to quantify what are these things. Some people are less like that, and so I'm told. And maybe just having even just because when I talk about this, people are like, wellness seems real abstract. But if I start talking about, well, how much time are you spending on your phone? And how do you feel about that? And people are like, oh, I feel kind of crappy about it. And Or part of digital wellness is also digital literacy. People, instinctively, or if you ask kids, they don't know about a wellness wheel, but they'll let you know if they're too tired and they can't participate in this, right? They know their limits and they sort of naturally balance those
Well,
things.
and I think the big thing seems to be understanding that there's 10 dimensions in terms of how we've defined it. What does each dimension mean? And even if it's not a score, having discussions like, what are your strengths? Where are you today? Because again, it could change a week from now or 2 weeks from now. Right? Being really conscientious about it, but understanding what the wheel is, maybe why we have it, and then what each aspect, and maybe I don't know if it's component or what the right word is, really what it means. But then maybe not doing a specific score, but where are your areas of strength in this? And
Yeah,
do you
where are you doing really, because again, Trisha and I looked at this and we were both like, oh, I don't know if we're practicing what we preach. And I have that thought.
Nobody ever does.
Nobody ever does, but that's important to me and it's important to Trisha. And I want to be a good model
Sure.
of, even if I don't have all these areas dialed in, I want to be a good model for, I'm thinking about this. I'm
Yes.
reapproaching this. It's for us, for me, I'll speak for myself. It's really about raising the consciousness and the awareness of, hey, if things aren't working quite well, you don't feel well, you haven't achieved a sense of well-being, here's some things that you can look at. And I think about if I had been given those tools in college to understand that about myself, there are whole years I would have done, decades I would have done differently if I'd had that kind of education.
And the thing, oh, sorry.
Right, or you
Okay, I was going to say, and the thing is, if you had like an initial intake form that the students would go in, or whoever would go in and fill out, and it would assign numerical values to these, and that would then establish the baseline. So that first part might take a while, but then as time goes on, if they want to do a check-in, they can go specifically to those areas and say, these variables have changed.
Exactly.
How does that affect me? And what
Exactly.
can I
Like,
do?
well, I've been walking every day and I feel really, really great.
So
I've
this
lost
is-
weight. I feel
yeah.
so, oh gosh, my physical health is. And so the next one I want to tackle is really like, where am I at spiritually?
Yeah.
Right.
Or am I doing something that helps me feel
but even say
creative?
like a bar chart of
Yeah.
how you
Yeah. Well, and again, from a university level, these are sort of the individual components, but then you move that out to in the community. How are we thinking about these things? Do we have structures across the university that support people getting out and walking, having walking meetings? The answer is yes, we do. But like, what are the things that have to be in place so that all of us, so our students have access, resources, and support for these things if they're intellectual is a really easy one on a college campus. Like if they're not attending to their schoolwork and to their thinking, do they need help from Plus to learn better study habits to increase their wellness, right? Because we know that when these things are out of whack, we see it in people's health.
Oh yeah. How you
We
feel.
see their anxiety go up, their depression go up. We see their blood work change. We see their longevity affected. We see their morbidity. So what kinds of chronic illnesses are they dealing with? We see how they approach and meet challenges and trauma, how their resilience shifts. All of these things have direct effect.
Well,
on
and
those
these things fascinating based on what you described with the trauma is a lot of individuals, whether it's students, faculty, or staff. So I like the community approach. Some people are so stuck in the fight or flight mode that it's hard. So raising that awareness and understanding how to peel some of those pieces back so that they can be fully present in a class.
Absolutely.
lot
I mean,
to
it's
think about.
really hard. One of the reasons I got into public health is that I was a high school teacher and my students were coming in not having eaten and having no place to live. So sleeping in a car, sleeping in a park, sleeping at friends' houses. It's really hard to then sit down and rot calculus if you're like, I have not eaten since yesterday. I mean, none of us could do it. Or there's lots of discussion in K-12 about recess. Well, I'll tell you what, you let any students of any age, adults of any age, okay? Now, go outside and walk around for 15 minutes, they come back, they're ready to learn, they're ready, they're focused,
Yeah.
right? So all of these things are interconnected because we are complex people.
Being a human.
Being a human is really complex, and it's difficult, and it's also constant. And so you never look at these and you're like, I just rocked spiritual well-being, so I don't have to think about that ever again. Like, all set in that area, your score changes over time, and that's the tricky part. So you never get to the end.
Well, I think this is
So
awesome.
I know that's a lot of preamble, but
We need
that's
We needed it. We needed
sort of
yeah.
the underpinning, and why I think that this approach is so powerful is that we're leading. I'm somebody who always, like, in my work and my life, I'm always about the story and the narrative. So how are you telling, what is the story that you're telling? And what is the story that we want these students to think about, right? This is where we started with first year is, who are you? What's the path that you need to follow throughout this course so that at the end of it, you are part of the university, you know who you are within that university, you have the tools and the understanding.
Yep.
We're telling a story through
Yes.
these weeks.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's an adventure, and they are the heroes of the story. And
Right, it's a choose your own adventure.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Which,
Well,
if you're a Gen Xer, you're
I
like, yeah,
love
that's
the idea, and this is what I'm so proud of the whole advisory team is keeping the student at the center. And I would
Yes.
think I was in grad school in a communication studies class when I was like, oh my God, that is the first class I've ever had about me. And it felt so refreshing. And again, coming out either any other college or coming from high school, you don't get a pause and really put yourself at the center. And so I love the way that this is being built
Yeah.
for the student.
I mean,
really is it.
traditional education, traditional college is you're here to learn. You come, you do essentially your job of learning. Now that works great if everything else is working great. We know our students they're trying to work 40 hours a week. They're struggling with their basic needs. Post-pandemic, mental health concerns have grown. General health concerns are also growing.
Massive.
Our students need
Families health.
more
Yeah.
tools to think about these things to set them up to then be able to do all of the work that's required to get a college degree and then
Yep.
go out in the world.
Yep.
Is
Well, one of the things we have that I'm trying to look side by side because I think this is going to be center, and I think definitely the first week maybe we spend just on the wellness wheel. Most of the other weeks we try to align it with this open stacks, and I love this one based on what you've described, engaging in a healthy lifestyle. This might be a nice, if we're being consistent, and again, if you ruled it out, I would completely be okay with that as well. But engaging in a healthy lifestyle, and I love it, some of the different items they have here. You may not have had a chance, but it gets into these different levels. And I think most
I
of
think
this
if we
is going to
cover
be
these things, if we introduce them to the idea of there are a lot of ways to think about health and well-being and focused on these, and they learn these things, I would be ecstatic.
I think this chapter seems to fit really well within this. And I think that's how the other weeks ended up kind of playing out as well, because I love that we do that survey from Career Services on your values and your interests. And so that kind of leads through, and we make
All of these things, to my way of thinking, are linked to your values.
exactly, that's that
Right.
connection that you have.
Right.
Read.
So for week 6, we currently have chapter 8
Mhm.
for reading.
Yeah, let me see if I have our week straight. So we're going to be in week 7 through 9. I think I
Right,
lied
yeah.
earlier.
But this is the sort of tee up.
Yeah.
Could you go up to week 1?
Sure.
So I
can just go through.
this is a helpful. I visually, but this is different. I know the progression, but this is a helpful way. Yeah.
Well, so one of the things that we're really thinking of is having the old-fashioned journaling throughout the whole course. That would be part of the participation and attendance.
I would love it if the
And
students
I know
did that.
Yep.
Yeah.
that's the I
Yep.
think you're digital. We want them writing it out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, they'll have different options of how. Yes.
Yeah, and so the first reading for that week,
Is this shelf from the one from last year?
It's-
This is the
it's-
whole new.
it's from it, but I've been paring it down.
Yeah.
and simplifying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's there's only a few things here you'll notice in week 1. And
Got
the rest of the weeks is, just as needed.
So we're focusing on why college, finding and building community. Yep.
And exploring college, and then the online student guide is the reading material. I'm not sure that we necessarily
Yes, I'm so excited about this.
have a whole lot listed here in the, we don't have anything specific in here.
And the biggest thing is just to have them, like, after they go to do anything, what they're learning, just their reflections on what they've learned, but having like, if we meet essentially 3 times a week or 3 hours, and, like, I think of the one night class, maybe they need 3 entries per week, something like that. And it could be a picture even of somewhere on campus, but you just want them pausing to reflect on what they're doing throughout the course.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
sorry, this
To get some more ideas.
this NeighborFest one is actually from the original course. It really is just them going there and experiencing it, and then I think maybe the assignment we're required them to do might change here. I don't know about this.
And we're linking this time the NeighborFest and Eagle Sync together because they kind of go hand in hand. You go to NeighborFest, you find this really cool club, then you go look it up in Eagle Sync and to see when and how you take that. NeighborFest is one action item, but Eagle Sync is the follow-up
Yes.
to get further.
I think
engaged.
that's great.
Yeah, and then the signature assignment due in week 3. It's just assigned in week 1. Yeah, part of a bigger major. Reflection helps you think about why matters and questions you still have and how it connects to your future. Some of this stuff I think we probably have to go through and change change a lot of the wording and whatnot. But it's just mainly the titles are a guide to what we're having the students do. So I'm going to week 2, which is identifying the values and interests. And for this one, the reading, it comes from chapter 3, managing time and priorities.
So we're trying to have the broad concepts and then some of these basic, I wouldn't call it basic skills, but refining some of these skills.
Mm-hmm. And then another journal assignment, and then the career surveys. The Focus 2 career surveys, which takes them to this website. And I think you said there were 2 different surveys that they would need to do after they go through and sign up here.
Yeah. And in class, I think it will walk through this.
Are those the surveys that are like, what careers might
Not
fit your...
necessarily. I think it will get to that later. This is really Ryan in the career services. I'm like, what are the must-do things to help us guide students? And so there are a lot of...
Okay, so this is more values and interests based on the sort of meta level of like how you access careers. Exactly. Like, what are the things that...
And what it might do, and it's very linked to, and I'll let you walk through, but if they don't do anything else, those 2 are great. Yeah, there's other surveys they can do as optional. I kind of like the 16 personalities ones, but I think the values and interests then will help them get to the program explorer because they might be a doer, but all of that language and it's all linked. And so I'm really...
Well, I think that's what we're trying to do, is give them the language, the tools, and sort of expand their thinking beyond just, I'm at college because my dad said I had to go to college.
Yes.
Or I'm an engineering major because that's, everybody in my family's an engineer and that's what I have to do. But like really thinking more deeply and mindfully.
Because I think they've done different career assessments before. And oh my God, we were just dying. I wish we would have had this on as well when we met with Mark, because he was talking about when he was back in high school, the econ faculty member that was a couple tables across from you. And he had this, do you like to carry a gun and jump over bushes? That was
that was ASVAB?
It must have been something like that.
Something like that. I like, that's oddly specific.
I'm thinking a bank robber, but they were thinking law enforcement. So it's
like sometimes.
No, it's crossover skill set.
He brought sets open. And I remember doing that in high school, and that gave me an idea of what I wanted to do, but it didn't give me any information about who I wanted to be.
I think that's where the values
that would have been really helpful, because I was a student who, I mean, I could do this, but I could also do that, or I could do that, or like, your skill is that you're a good reader. Okay. So that narrows it down to 40,000 career. Like, that doesn't tell me anything, but you're somebody who wants to seek out knowledge. You're curious about a lot of things. You're a generalist rather than a specialist. Those kinds of things are, I think, are really helpful for students.
These will help, and I think it'll be awesome. And I have to go through, I created my account, but I want to do the surveys, and that's one of my goals.
Maybe we'll finally figure out what we should do. I'm hoping with our motives. I mean, I have so many student employees who come in and they're like, they're so stressed. Like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I say, right? I know. I don't either. And they say, but you're the oldest person I know.
Awesome.
And
And you're like,
how
yeah.
do you not know? And I'm like, because that's just how life is. But they put so much
There's
pressure on
though. I think with
themselves.
the way the economy is, I think this
Like,
generation.
and what if they're like, what if I get it wrong? And I myself have an almost second year college student who's like, I think I'm about to really mess this up. And I say, 100%, you absolutely are. Let's eliminate all doubt. You are absolutely going to mess it up. And that is okay. And it used to be you could do that sort of anonymously. And now, like, there's just so much public pressure on students to have this figured out.
Yep.
And they're really afraid of failing.
Right? No, that's a huge.
And that's what I was telling Michelle is we have to be able to normalize failing as part of the process of being at school.
Absolutely. Like, if we could get
Not like failing all the grades, but like making
Like,
mistakes and being able to.
that would, and that came up in our group during that meeting,
loved
was like, if we could just teach kids that we all fail all that, and if you get old enough, you've had enough public failures that you're like, okay, that's not as scary as it was. But for the first 40 years, you're like, that's
Yeah.
really terrifying.
Well, have you ever heard what FAIL stands for? The FAIL? I love this. It was with my son. We had a great therapist and first attempt in learning. Yes, and so I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's such a cool way. Again, as you talk about normalizing it and so
And celebrating
Definitely,
failures
yeah.
and then moving on quickly.
yeah, and
Failing,
learning,
failing forward.
Yep,
Yeah.
I love it. So that's kind of where that idea comes in.
Great. Aligning values and interests with potential majors. Yep.
Yeah. And then that reading comes from chapter 4, and then that planning academic pathways, which is always helpful. The journal assignment, and then major and me for the signature assignment.
And we may be reframing that as like you and your majors. So some of those we have.
Yeah, and then again, don't pay attention to any of the wording here is going to change, but something to help them get closer to what.
This came out of that advisory team meeting.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Hopefully these look familiar.
I think it might be helpful at the beginning, and maybe
Yeah.
you've already, I don't know if people structure classes this way. If we had a graphic that was a path that had all of these things through it, like an overarching,
That's so funny that you say that. I tried to.
I knew that you were already thinking, and maybe we even talked about that. Nope. But just like, because I think that would allay a lot of anxiety for students.
Map.
A map, like it really is like a treasure map.
Oh,
Right.
Thank you for using this technology.
Did you say treasure? Sorry, did you guys? I know you guys already thought about
No,
these ideas.
These are the kind of ideas that I try and talk to everybody about
Yeah.
when it comes to course design and just life stuff.
Well, that's just good cognitive psychology about you have to have a structure for people to be able to understand the intricacies. And I think that and in instructional design, that's a key piece, but having a visual that's like, this is not a 1, 2, this is an exciting, like, this is essentially, you're on a journey.
Yeah, you want a Lord of the Rings map, not like a bulleted list. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Oh, I mean, as a Lord of the Rings nerd, yes, please. But with my high school students, I used to have them we would read the Odyssey in 9th grade, and then they had to write their own Odyssey, and they had to do a visual of what their Odyssey was. And I always think about that because they were all like, wow, that's really helpful to see this as a thread rather than breaking it down in things that are so abstract. But we don't want to lead them to Mordor, but
No, I had something and again,
Just taking the eagle.
it's right. It doesn't keep it sometimes for me, and I don't know what I've done wrong. I'm very new with the notebook LM, but one of them created a really cool, it was like a blues, which I didn't like the blues, but it was that whole idea of, but I think that's great to think about what that looks like. We're going to take you on a journey, and it's with a lot of intentionality, but when you see it here, it can still be overwhelming, I think, as much as last year, but
definitely not. Like, this is much easier, but I think as them just having that, it was like,
try to find.
we're going to focus on you. And then we're going to, maybe I'm relating too much to my own college student who's like, but what if I don't know where career services is? And like, okay, if you'd read the syllabus, you would know they're going to tell you. But what if I don't know? What if I don't have values? I know. Like, what are values? What is the value? And do I, Mom, What's a value? Do I have one?
Seriously, this is real.
And those are because the anxiety of doing that is so they want to talk about wellness. But I don't know what wellness is. Like that, you're okay. Everything's okay. You're the little hobbit.
Anyway, but I think we can create that, and I think
Sure.
that Notebook LM or others. That,
Yeah, we can go over here and make an infographic. It's a map based on. And
anyway, once we finish it, is
Isn't Notebook LM just mind blowing?
this interactive audio overview,
It's crazy.
people don't even know how insane that is.
It's so insane. Actually, Gwen is the one you must have shown
I showed
Gwen.
Yeah.
And then we were meeting, Trisha and I were meeting with Gwen about something else, and she was like, I have to show you this. And Trisha and I were just like, phew.
Yeah.
San Diego with Sam.
It was
me first. I'm like, oh my gosh.
The audio, it was the audio component that
Yeah,
we were just like, are you this?
I hear you have a question, and then you ask it, and then they answer it, and then they go back to the podcast. It's
wild.
But yes, I love that kind of the pathway, and I don't even know where it went because I looked in here and some of the
Sorry.
things just- no,
I know
it's
I huge getting us.
This is what's helpful though.
well, we have to bring you up to speed.
Yep.
That's what we've done so far. Otherwise, you're just starting.
Because and again, if we were thinking about it as a narrative, then we have to think about how's the
story?
what's the story that we're telling, and how do we get to? Otherwise, it's just like career, values, wellness.
Yeah.
and
What?
That's not the vision that you had.
Right.
I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of gets us through week 3.
Okay.
Forward.
Yep.
Yeah. Discovering EWU and resources supporting your success. And another reading, and let's see. This is from chapter 5.
Good.
Reading and
Good.
note taking.
This is such a thoughtful. I know. It's just there's so much to be proud of.
Yeah.
That
We
makes
needed a
sense.
dictator to just.
But it was the feedback. I think it was the synergy from the team and the
Making-
different pieces.
Well, it is truly a collaborative.
To really celebrate. Like yesterday, I had to update in my first academic affairs council meeting, like what's something directly related to the strategic plan that you're really proud of and that you worked on. And so it was so awesome to talk about the FYS and all of the different individuals and leveraging the past work and trying to then leverage the current.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've done a really beautiful job of taking all of those threads. It was really like a
All
ball of
Yeah.
yarn. Those threads. It looks like my sewing basket all, and really honoring all of the input and the.
That was huge to hear from people that felt that.
Yeah,
it was-
like I think that this really, having been in the journey, I think this really well reflects
that makes
all of the input that you've gotten from people about what's important and who they. I see lots of people represented.
Yes.
So
So
the
the
passport to the past, which I love. I think
Yeah.
it's such a great.
Yeah, Janelle and her design. I can't wait to see like the finalized version of it. But yeah, this is where that first gets
Yeah.
introduced. And
And it's a really simple, but again, it's the booklet. It's going to be like a field studies book
Mhm.
that's small. It gives a lot of the history.
I think they're good. The
I
students are gonna love it.
I know that Mark was saying, our econ faculty, he's like, nobody will read it. And I'm like, that's okay. Some will, some may
Yeah.
not.
I would like to challenge some of our faculty
Yeah.
colleagues to take a strengths-based approach to our students, rather than they won't do it, they don't care, they don't.
But it's
I think there's a lot of projection
Yeah.
about their feeling.
yeah, on the
The-
students. Yeah.
They're feeling like they don't care, they're not engaged, whatever. I'm not meaning to cast. I
that
just
we might use some of the class time, even as
Sure.
a team. And then I'm like, I want to give the students agency. Maybe we let them decide where we go as a class.
I think they're a lot more excited and engaged. And we sort of, as a society, not us at Eastern, but as a society, sort of beat that out of students, out of young people.
Mhm.
So, and the fact
It's-
that one of our students and an alumna is now updating it, I think I'd love that.
Because I'm thinking about so I oversee essentially 15 student employees. They're engaged, they're smart, they're interested, they're excited, they're curious. And they're in all different majors.
Right.
And I think that they're going to be so excited about a little field
Right.
notebook.
And we get
And Janelle's going to
that-
rock.
Oh,
the
Janelle. Yeah.
Well, and it's not Janelle, it's Mindy from design. And again, the student, it's already designed and it's very simple, but I love that it's really simple. And so it's bringing it up to date. And that's where, again, I think even the science building will be done and actually design will be back in aisle. So I went through the text And so now wanting to see it, but I love that it's not a big design project. It's actually really simple.
Yeah.
But walking them, and then we in every class can make what they want of it. So if there's some places that are not on there that maybe people like, in addition to this, we want you to do this. Or when you go to Sutton, go and talk with somebody, ask them a question, and then maybe that's
Or-
what their job
Find what things aren't
here that you
on
think
this.
should be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, I love
Where,
it. Not every,
what are the things that are not on here? Find one of those things and pitch why it should be included.
but giving them some agency.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I love it. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And it really ties into all the services.
So that's good. So we do the services and supports and what is Eastern. And then before we get to, now we're in week 5.
Well, we're still on week 4 with this career stuff. So now we're focusing more on career resource. As again, I think we.
And this may
Do they know that we're sending everybody to them?
or it's so
We
we're
can
going to
find
look at that because they also have the career fair, but yes, and they want people there.
Okay, they want all
Once we
600.
get done, I do, yeah. And again, people will go, and they need to be going there anyway, and so we may not have everybody go at the same time. And I think students will take things like all through.
And we're doing all of this synchronously. So all of us are in week 1.
Well, no, so not exactly.
I think we'll give some flexibility. I think people will want to do this in order because it kind of makes sense. I think
It
last
does.
time people were like, it doesn't make sense in week 2 to do financial because they don't even know
Totally.
each other.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I was just confirming. I was just thinking about like all of
I
those
think the
students in
biggest
week 5.
assignment-
It's like
Yeah.
descending on career services.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that this, again, will continue to go back because the career fair is October 14th. And so that's really, really key.
Yeah.
So yeah, that gets us through week 4.
Okay, go to the career resource visit 'cause I think it's a resource visit, not career center necessarily.
Yeah, I don't think we
okay.
fill
So I think
out the
that makes
information
sense.
on this one
Yeah.
just yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to go through and fill out all the information on it. This is all just structural.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So yeah, so then the week 6 signature assignment gets assigned, and I'm not sure what we decided that was going to be. Obviously, this is just a
Kind of possible majors. And sometimes I keep thinking I want them to give us even careers like what also did you rule in and what did you rule out? Because it's not necessarily failure, it's a different kind of thing. And we're trying to be very cognizant to the student who comes in and knows exactly what they want to do. So I think in the classroom, when we're explaining this, that you might have complete affirmation on your major. So all of you might have them discuss different, I guess it's declared, their application declares their major. So that's a new concept for me. But a
Me
lot
too.
of them will be changing their majors if they haven't already. But that student who sticks their feet in like, this is a waste of my time. Like, I know I'm doing dental hygiene or I know I'm doing this. Well, let's see. Like, you have to.
What about
comic
all the
book-
students who have no idea
Exactly.
what they're
yeah.
Yep.
That was
And yeah.
doing, right? Like, I wonder if there's a way to, I'm always thinking about tools and things like that. Rate your confidence about your major. I'm 10 out of 10. This is it. I want to do dental hygiene.
And when we do that, and again, and I hope that those will be great class discussions, like help us.
That's probably in all the
understand
career
confidence.
tools. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, to have them talking about that, I think will be great.
so. Then that brings us into week 5, which is
So we've got
guides.
from major to careers.
Yep. And then, so this reading here is for, planning your future. I'm not quite sure. Chapter.
Well, like cycle, it kind of gets into. So this is where this is nice because I think the students, there were a lot of videos, there were a lot of other reading, but I think having kind of a central source, that this is kind of a foundation to throw in the surveys, the program explorers and things, but this kind of keeps it easy and everyone. It's great. He's broken it down chapter by chapter, so they're not having to go to the big PDF and find it.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's great. It's digestible.
Yes, that's the key word.
And I'll be able to go back. I can probably be able to go back and backfill some of these assignments based on the chapters too. But I think we'll have to discuss the details of the assignments. So